Alright guys, down to designing the inside part of our brochure, and let's go ahead and see our full spread, as it's not really obvious in that mockup in here. That's actually a BSD Photoshop file. Pressing escape and you'll find that file in your resources as well. And by the way guys, if you would like to find a similar mockup file, you can Google maybe brochure mockup file and you'll find tons of free mockup files online, maybe through freebec.com or similar websites, or even you can find some cool premium ones as well, especially on Adobe Stock. So let's move to InDesign, and that's what we're going to design for the inside spread of our brochure. So of course here we have two A4 pages facing each other, and in that layout we're gonna use rule of thirds, as it's very aesthetically pleasing, plus it's very similar to the golden ratio as well. But just to make our life easier, we're gonna be using rule of thirds in that one. And we're gonna be starting our design process by building our layout grid, which is gonna be a unique grid by the way, but I assure you guys you will learn a lot in that one. So that's our final design. Let's scroll up in here. You'll find that we have the same grid but in colors, so you can easily visualize that one. And even if we press W, we can see our grid better. And if we scroll up again, we can see our grid without any colors. And that's why I added some colors so you can imagine how it's going to look like. But anyways, that should be helping you guys to imagine what we're going to do. So here, for example, we have 3 columns within our pages. And also we have some frames for our images, or maybe our types. That's a frame. Another one in here, populating third of our layout. And here we have another frame as well. So anyway, before we start building our grid, let's add that control bar to our application by going to Window and select Control. And remember guys, we're using Essentials. So we do already have Properties panel, so we can easily customize our design elements. And also maybe you need to add Effects panel by the way. That one in here. So we can access opacity for our design elements if we needed to. And also you need to open Layers panel as well. You'll find that one in here. And now let's go ahead and start building our layout grid. So scrolling down all the way to here. And you know what? Actually, we're going to be designing in the same document as well, so we can easily cheat from our existing design. So let's go to pages. And here we have page 8 and 9. We can select that one and add 2 new pages. And currently, as you can see guys, we don't have any columns within our spread. So let's select both of them, holding Shift key and clicking on that 10th page. Then selecting Layout, Margins and Columns, and adding 3 columns. And we have almost 4 millimeters gutter. And make sure you remember that one, and you'll see why when we're building our grid. Pressing OK. And you know what guys, if that was a symmetrical layout, not rule of thirds, we would have used the documents grid or even the baseline grid. And let me show you guys these 2 grids first. So here we have our properties panel and we have our move tool selected, and we have nothing selected in that case. So here we have our rulers and grids. Here are our rulers. You can press Command or Control R as well to enable or disable them. And here we have our baseline grid, which is not visible in that case, and I'll tell you why. In that case, if you want to see it, you can go to 75% and you will see that one, and I'll show you guys how you can change that value. But mainly that grid can be used for your lines or your type. So for example, you have too much type and you want to have maybe 70 lines within your pages. That baseline grid can be helpful in that case. And also we have the documents grid as well, which you are probably familiar with in Photoshop and Illustrator, that common grid. And let's go and customize these grids. Go into Preferences. If you're using Windows, make sure you select that one from Edit. For Mac users, you can go to Preferences, and we have grids. Here we have baseline grid. You can change its color and a starting point as well, and relevant to maybe margin instead of top of the page, and increments, and that will be depending on your font size and leading. And currently we have 12 points. Then we have view threshold, which is set currently to 75%. You can change that one as well if you would like. Then we have the documents grid. You can change its color, and we have grid line every inch. We can change that one maybe to 20 millimeters, and for vertical as well. And I'm gonna be using only one subdivision to make it a bit simpler. And also you can disable grids in back. So in that case, your grid will be on top of your design elements as well. And let's apply that. And actually in that video, we're not gonna be heavily relying on that grid. So I'm gonna be disabling that one. And instead I'm gonna be using guides. So I'm gonna be dragging one to that part, which is almost the third of our width. And I'm talking about the entire spread in that case. And let me show you guys how you can calculate that. Basically guys, you need a calculator. So here if we deselect our guide, we can see our document size. Width will be 210 millimeters. That's of course for a single page, which means we need to multiply that number by 2 for our spread. Then we need to divide by 3 to have the third of our width. Sounds like a mathematical tutorial, however it's not that complicated. So here we have our calculator. So here multiplying 210 by 2, then dividing by 3, which is actually 1/3 of our width. So we need to multiply that by 2 to have 2/3. So currently we have 280 millimeters. Going back to InDesign, selecting that guide, that's 285 millimeters, because in that case I'm also adding that gutter value to my distance. And now we need to do the same for our height as well, having a lower third. So dragging a guide. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna apply the same mathematical operation for that guide. So here we have our height 297 millimeters. I'm gonna be selecting my guide and doing that math in here. So I'm gonna type 297 by 3, then multiplying by 2 to have 2/3. Then I can drag another guide as well to that page and select that one, copy that value, Command or Control C, selecting that guide and applying the same value in here, Command or Control V. Now we're going to be placing some frames for our design elements. So selecting the frame tool and drawing a frame from bleed area all the way to the bottom. Then drawing another one from here. Then let's go ahead and add another guide to represent the same space between our columns, but mainly in a horizontal way. So selecting that guide, typing 189 minus 4 millimeters, which is our gutter, and actually 189 is that guide's place or position, and hitting return. Then dragging another guide and typing 194. Now we can draw another frame in that part, selecting our frame tool, drawing from bleed area all the way to here. And now to make life easier, let's give them some colors. Selecting that frame, we have that one already selected, going to fill color, and let's give it maybe cyan, and that one will be magenta and yellow. And that will be our main layout grid. And let's also add some more divisions to our grid. So I'm gonna drag a guide from here, and let's divide 297 by 3. Oops. Making sure I'm selecting the guide, typing 297 by 3, because we're going to add some type in that part. And by the way guys, if you would like to access more controls for your guide, you can right click that one. You can cut or copy or paste the guide, or if you'd like to lock that one or change its color, you can click on ruler guides. Maybe you can make it a different color. If you don't really see it with these colors, we can select maybe something like gold. Okay, and let's also divide that yellow frame into 2/3 and 1/3. So currently by selecting that frame, we can see its dimensions in here, width and height. So currently we have almost 286 millimeters, we can drag a guide, then deselect that frame first, selecting the guide, typing 286 by 3. Let's multiply that by 2. So currently we have another third and 2/3 in that frame as well, as we're going to place our type in that part. And you know what guys, let's go ahead and minus our gutter area as well. So we can be slightly shifting the guide a bit to here. So let's minus 4 millimeters. And here you have it guys, that's our layout grid or design grid. By applying that layout grid, you can precisely execute your design in no time. And also if you have multiple pages in your document, you can easily apply a consistent design in no time.